I yield back. Chair now recognizes Mr. Donalds from Florida for 5 minutes.
Point of order. Down here. Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Mr. Donalds for 5 minutes. You'll have 5 minutes. You'll have
my
all
5
the
minutes.
time.
A point of
no,
order.
you're out of order. You're out of order, Mr. Goldman.
I have a
when
point of order.
When your time is, you
I
will
asked
be
to
recognized.
introduce
Chair
something by
recognizes
unanimous
Mr. Donalds
consent.
for 5 minutes.
Is it being introduced?
Chair recognizes Mr. Donalds for 5 minutes. Byron, it's your
Chairman,
time.
the rules require you
Thank
to
you,
recognize
Mr. Chairman.
me.
No.
Yes, for a point of order, they absolutely do.
Chair recognizes
rule
Mr.
on
Donalds.
the motion.
And is
You've
Mr.
already
Donald's
made
time
2
ticking
points
too?
of order.
No,
Chair
Mr. Donald's
recognizes
time
Mr.
is not going
Donalds.
to tick. Actually, Mr. Chairman, I request this clock be set back to 5 minutes
Set
so we
the
can.
clock back to 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a parliamentary inquiry then? Are we not to make points of order on either side during
You
the
keep
questioning?
speaking about no evidence. Why don't you all just listen and
I'm trying to
learn?
introduce evidence.
You've already introduced. You've already had your
Is it in?
share of evidence.
Are you
now,
admitting
Mr. Donalds, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dubinsky, I want to come to you quickly. A lot of talk about evidence. On the screens in the room, we have an organizational chart from the IRS investigative team that was looking into the business practices of Hunter Biden and his associates. This org chart is from 2014. Now, Mr. Dubinsky, when my former life, I was in community banking, and I'm comfortable with looking at organizational charts. When I first saw this chart, the first thing I thought about was a real estate holding company or a developer, and this is not to demean developers in the great east state of America, but developers typically have multiple companies that float with various business interests and business lines. But the funny thing is that in the business dealings of Hunter Biden, there is no real estate, none at all. So, Mr. Dubinsky, in your professional experience, looking at this organizational chart of business structure, what do you see here?
I see a very complicated structure of entities that are interrelated and would give me concern. If I were an investigator, I would want to know what's going on in these entities, who's behind them, how's the money moving between them, and what is the substance of the transactions? What's really going on here?
Mr. Dubinsky, do you think it's in the interest of this committee that is now in an inquiry phase to actually find out all of the flow of money between these entities and what the purpose was?
Absolutely.
Next slide, please. For my colleagues on the other side, we're going to start talking evidence now. This is now a slide of the organizational chart of the Hunter Biden business companies and with associates from 2018, from the same IRS investigators who were broke down the business structure in 2014. Does this slide cause you the same concern, Mr. Dubinsky?
Yes, it does.
Okay, now let's talk about some more. Actually, one point I want to make on this. Ladies and gentlemen, and I know it's kind of small, so I would love to I will submit all this for the record. I would love my colleagues on the other side to see this. In 2014, one of the key owners was Devin Archer, who did testify and was under deposition under oath by the Oversight Committee. In 2018, Devin Archer is no longer listed, but his wife, Krista Archer, is now listed. Mr. Dubinsky, when you see a situation where ownership interest moves from one spouse to the other, is that a concern of some level of fraud potentially?
I would call it a red flag. That's something I would look at and again, try to get to the bottom of what happened there. Was it just transferred? Was there money behind it? What was going on?
Okay, thank you. Next slide. Now, this is to a text message. This is a text message between, it's going to Naomi Biden. That's what this one is. Hold on, wait a second. Let me get my stuff back. There we go. Sorry. This is the WhatsApp text message between Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. In this text message, it clearly says, anyway, we can talk later, but you've been drawn into something purely for the purpose of protecting Dad. This is between Hunter Biden and Jim Biden. Last time I checked, the father of Jim Biden and Joe Biden is now passed away. So I'm assuming this is Hunter Biden saying to Jim Biden, the president's brother, that you've been brought in this for the sole purpose of protecting Dad. Miss O'Connor, do you think that this text message would lead this committee to get further information about the business dealings of Hunter Biden and how that actually links to Jim Biden, the president's brother, and why they are so concerned with protecting Dad, a.k.a. Joe Biden, a.k.a. the President of the United States?
Yes.
Thank you. Next slide, please. This is a text message between Hunter Biden and Naomi Biden. And this one is a famous one. Everybody knows this one. This is a famous one that says, I hope you all do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard. But don't worry, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half your salary. Mr. Dubinsky, if you saw a text message like this in a potential money laundering operation or a potential pay-for-play operation, would you be looking for information related to money going from son to father?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Thank you. Next slide. Oh, this is a fun one. Ladies and gentlemen, this one is from 2018. This is about 4 months before Joe Biden launched his campaign for president of the United States, December 2018. The highlight is, this is a text message between Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was in a bad way, by the way. He was really strung out. He lost a bunch of money. He needed help. Jim Biden says, "This can work. You need a safe harbor. I can work with your father alone." It'll probably take several months and everybody can read the text. Ms. O'Connor, Mr. Dubinsky, if you saw a text message like this between the president's brother and the president's son, wouldn't you be concerned about them trying to give plausible deniability for the president of the United States to not have any knowledge of said business dealings?
It's worth.
Gentleman's time's expired, but please answer the question.
It's worth investigating.
Mr. Dubinsky?
I would agree. I would investigate this.
I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back. Before I recognize Mr. Christian Morte, Mr. Goldman, I will give you an opportunity to quickly recognize you for your point of order.
I just want to make sure that page 131 of the transcript of the Devin Archer interview is entered into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you.